I'm a retired CFO from an international trading company, married, I have 3 children, I live in Old Japan, and upon my retirement, I knew I needed to do something, and my wife has always been into volunteerism, and I happened to read the article about the organization in the Bergen Record. Second time, I said, I got to give this thing a call anyway and see what it's like. And I'm glad I did. So since 2021, I've been doing this, and it's been great for me. And I know it's been great for the clients that we serve. I think if I had to have a superhero for this business, I don't know if it's a superhero, but it would be the Wizard of Oz, so that behind the curtain, the wizard could get everything done, and I could stay home and eat bonbons. I want to do something that keeps me on my feet. I think it's important, I think it's healthy, and I felt that this would be something that would keep me certainly active for at least 6 months a year. Turned out it's more 9 months a year. And I feel as good today as I think I felt 20 years ago. So this organization and these activities have actually been more of a benefit to me, I believe, than the clients we serve. Working for this organization is not taxing for me or my family at all. My children are adult children. My wife is still employed. I think if I didn't do something like this, I would probably end up in the loony bin, because she would commit me, because I would probably be in her hair way too much. So in terms of balancing, it just doesn't interfere with anything. My first job was a house in Clifton, and I didn't know anything about Brian, I didn't know anything about the organization, but this was my first time out. I went to this house, I was bagging the guy's grass. The guy's grass was maybe 10 inches high. It was ridiculous, and it was a big property, and it was a hot August day. I probably spent about 3 hours there. I ran out of bags. I was halfway done with the guy's lawn. I thought, I'm not coming back. This is the end of it. I can't do this. This is not what I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I said, no, I'll come back. I came back, I finished the guy's lawn. He was very appreciative. He told me nobody else would ever tackle the job. I finished the job, and that was the end of it. Kept going. I view myself more as the forces behind the landscape designing aspect of the business. I don't have any particular landscaping acumen. I'm not a gardener, maybe a little bit. So I'm more the type of person in approaching this is somebody else points and I'll shoot. I have met quite a number of interesting people. Some of them are quite the characters, I have to say that. The overwhelming quality I will say that about the people that I've met, Brian, is they're so thankful and grateful that there's an organization such as this that would come out and help them on such a level as the help that they need. That aside, I've probably met the most interesting character maybe 5 months ago. And this individual passed recently, just shy of his 105th birthday. Brian, you've been out to meet with Peter. He was a guy, stormed the beach at Normandy in World War II, got shot, wounded, wasn't expected to survive, and 85 years later, I'm mowing this guy's lawn. So The guy would always call me in, wanted to talk with me more than me mowing his lawn, which was fine. Tom Salvo would help me after a while. We'd bring us both in, have to talk with us. That was all great. Shared phenomenally interesting stories about his life. Stories I can't even think that I would ever be involved with. And one day he offered me a cup of coffee, and it had to be 90 degrees out. And I had just mowed this guy's lawn, and I was pretty drenched in it. And I was finishing up a bottle of water, and I said, Peter, at this point in time, the only things I drink are water and Budweiser. And lo and behold, every time I came back to Peter's house to mow his lawn, he had a cold six-pack of Budweiser for me. So that's a character that I really liked, and I miss him an awful lot. And Tom DeSalvo and I, we seem to be partners. He does the work, I do the supervising, which works out wonderful. We were removing snow from a house in Fairlawn. Jesse and Debbie. Jesse's an almost 92-year-old Korean War vet. I think they've been married since the beginning of time. So grateful that we were over there taking care of the snow so that Jesse could get out to his medical appointments, particularly dialysis that he has to do 3 days a week. After we were all done, I was just loading up my equipment. We were just chatting. And Debbie leaned into me and kissed me on the cheek. And I just stopped because she halted me right where I was. I was not expecting that. And it was just so spontaneous and so heartfelt that it's a real special moment. It is two-way. I get what I give. The feeling that people that we work with that makes it a two-way street. That's what I continue to do this for. When I had no idea what to expect when I first started doing this, and I don't mean the first client in Clifton. That's another thing. I didn't know what the situation was going to be like. I never thought about independent, unrelated people who were in their 80s and 90s. They just existed. They didn't enter my world. And when I started doing this work, and I started to see how many people really needed this help and this service, and how many of these people quite stuck and quite alone. Many of them were widows. And I had mentioned this to Brian once, that first times I would go to meet these people, I would cut the grass and I would tell them when I was done and ask them if there was anything else I could do for them. And 3 minutes would go by and they would be talking to me and we'd be talking. 5 minutes would be gone. 7 minutes would be gone. And I'm starting to think, what's going on here? And I realized over time that I was one of the few human touches that they have in their life. And that was so insightful for me to see, because I think if I showed up there and didn't mow the lawn and just chatted with them for 20 minutes, they would have thought it was great service. So this is the side of the volunteering that I never could have envisioned would be part of it. As Brian once said to me, the lawn service is a byproduct. And that's truly, I think, what it is. A sense of caring, I think, is very crucial and has been very crucial for me to do this. I care very much about seniors, disabled, and vets who have given a lot to our society and at this point in time in their lives may need an assist from somebody else. And I've had the fortunate situation in my nuclear family and extended family's life to have seen situations very close and personal to me where outside influences helped shape, form, and develop some of the very important people in my life. And by doing a little of this service, I feel like I'm just extending that and giving a little bit back. So That's the kind of feeling and self-propulsion that you need to do this job. If somebody was considering volunteering, I think I'd have a multi-point message for them. Number one, it is a volunteer job. You could do it anytime you want. You could choose not to do it. But the thing that we have to realize when we do this is that these people that are in need of services are really in need of services. They're not joking around. And once you start, they come to rely on you. They need you. So if you're going to commit to doing this, you have to really commit to doing this. Every 2 weeks, maybe mowing 2 or 3 lawns may not sound like a big job for somebody. 4 or 5 months in, somebody might say, I don't know if I want to do this on Tuesday. And that's fine, I get that. It is a volunteer position, but I think you have to understand reliance of somebody who can't do it by themselves is a very important motivator for somebody who's going to do this job. Brian buying beer once in a while doesn't hurt.
Next time I see you, you're going to have a 30-pack.
What we haven't really talked about is the camaraderie that develops between the volunteers and the organization itself. And for me, I'm fortunate enough to live in North Jersey where Brian Schwartz lives, and I get the opportunity to meet with him and see him face to face. And that's been a really positive thing in my life, is to get to know Brian. Whereas some of the other volunteers in many of the other places that we exist now, they don't necessarily have that. But I can say that Brian is one heck of a guy, and what a driving force he is in the life situation that he has with a wife, a job, and a very young child, to devote the time to doing this. In addition, Tom Salvo, who I've gotten to know and I work with, stories with him, talking about the Giants, complaining about our aches and pains as we're doing this week in and week out. It just puts a nice bow on the whole thing.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you.